is this any kind of running order here, or is this just...
It depends what people want to chat about first. Do you want to jump into Titanfall first or anything like that?
I'm quite happy to gloat about Titanfall first. I really don't mind.
Oh, man, do we have to? Because I haven't played it, and I can't play it yet, and I'm just going to get all sad.
Hello and welcome to the AVForums Gaming Podcast. It's a podcast for the month of March. I am, of course, Steve Hill, coming to you live from the People's Republic of Korea. At least that's what we're telling everyone from EA. Joining me, as always, is Mark Botwright. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Steve.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Are you over your man flu from last month?
Yeah, I've just about recovered. Thanks very much.
Good stuff. And also joining me is Leon. Hello, Leon.
Why is it not Friday yet?
More on that. Every day's a Friday when you're a PC gamer.
Here we go again.
I hate you.
Also joining me is the first half of the Northern Mafia, Steve Carter. Hello, Steve.
Good evening.
And is number 2, Nial Gill. Hello.
Why do I have to be the sidekick?
You're the Robin to my Batman.
No, I'm not thrilled about it.
Last in. I tell you what, if we can get James on the podcast next month, then you won't be the butt of all jokes forever.
Nice. Let's get him in.
So, fellas, quick chat about Titanfall. We had the beta. Did everyone get in that wanted to get in?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty open by the end of it, wasn't it?
So it was open to everybody in the end.
I was going to say, if they turned you down, then you'd feel really rejected.
How good would Leon be if it was like, you can't get in? No, sorry.
You'd have heard it from over there.
I was scrambling for a code, and then someone from the forum sorted me out, so massive thanks to them. They know who they are. And I did actually offer them my firstborn child, and he sent me through the code, because you joked about it in the off-air earlier, Niall. But I did actually say to him, look, anyone who gives me a code, you can have my firstborn kid.
Did you actually?
So he sent me the code. I said, brilliant, thanks. Where do I send this boy? He said, no,
had to house
you're
an
okay.
immigrant for several weeks as well in his basement.
He said, you can keep both. So I was very lucky.
You got a very good deal.
So was everyone suitably impressed by the beta?
I think it was as good as a lot of people thought it was going to be. I don't know. A lot of people are saying it's Call of Duty with robots, but it's a lot more than that. It seems like so long ago now, the beta, actually. I mean, as we record this, we're 2 days out from the release, and some scandalous people like yourselves have already played the full game through nefarious means, which I am not bitter about at all.
Well, you say nefarious. I mean, it was fairly well publicised. If you're a PC gamer and you're sort of online regularly, you would have seen that you could actually buy Titanfall via the Mexican origin for about £25, which is, some £10 to £15 cheaper than what it is to buy from the UK. And as far as I can tell, that's totally legal. You're not doing anything wrong. You did have to mess around with some proxies. Is it legal, do you think?
About with a Mexican accent then? With sombreros and moustaches and ponchos and what have you.
Exactly. And subsequently the game was released in Korea, I think 24 hours ago from when we recorded this. So let's say sometime on a Tuesday. If you used a VPN, logged into Origin and launched the game, it would unlock. And anyone who did that has now got full access to the game. And it's fantastic. I've really, really been enjoying it. And I really look forward to you and I catching up about it, Leon, when you finally get to play it in a couple of weeks.
Wow, stealth brag or what, man? I think it's a grey area, isn't it? Because there are a lot of people on the forums, because Xbox One digital titles, and I think all titles actually are region free on that console now. So there are a lot of people changing their Xbox Live accounts to US accounts and buying US credit, popping it onto an account that they've created, and then purchasing the game and using it on their console to get past the old release date. Is it legal? I don't know. I think it's a grey area. I think there's some terms and conditions in the Microsoft blurb, which is like 20 pages long, which something in there could possibly be used against you if they really wanted to. I think the more realistic thing is that you're avoiding tax, and the taxman don't like that. Whether they will actually take action, I doubt it, because it's a lot of people and it's a lot of work to track people down. So I think a lot of people are doing it at their own risk, and I'm struggling to not do it. But I'm gonna hold out for the.
I think
for the UK
it's
release.
the only advantage for Xbox owners the fact that you'd get it slightly cheaper. I don't think you'd get it any earlier. Is that right?
Yeah, you get it earlier.
Zone? You do, okay.
Because it comes out on the US on a Tuesday, and we've got to wait till Friday. So there are people playing it now on the forums who have got US accounts, and they've paid less for it as well.
Xbox owners.
Yes.
Sounds like win-win to me.
It is a win-win situation. Although part of me is like super safe. So one day, I mean, I'm sure Microsoft wouldn't do it because it would be the worst PR disaster of all time for them to go, by the way, we've locked down all the US content, so all you people who bought it, you don't have it anymore. I think that would be a nightmare, but that exists.
They've never done anything like that before.
I don't think they have. I don't think they have, but I just don't want to take the risk. I'm happy to wait the 3 days, even though this is the dark period, the 3 days when it's out in another country, and they've updated the Twitch app as well, so that all I can see is Titanfall streams everywhere. All I can see is Titanfall content on every website, and I can't play it. So, yes.
Well, look, all bragging aside, I mean, I won't go into massive details because I've only played the game a little bit, but it really does look fantastic. I wasn't convinced by the beta. There was something a bit lacking about it, but all the high-res textures seem to be there, and the sound's fantastic. And I tell you what, it's a beefy download. I think it's something like a 20-25 gig download, and then it installs at about 48 gig.
Haven't they said that most of that's the audio, though?
Yeah, it's languages. It's foreign
Those
languages.
Mexican languages they've put in.
That's what they should do. All the people who download it from like weird marketplaces, the language is stuck in whatever marketplace it is. You can't change it. So everything is in Mexican.
Well, there's been a few people that have had their fingers burnt on the forum by buying Russian keys for games, only to discover that it's not the English version that they're installing. But anyway,
a few people. A friend, is this Steve?
No. I've never had my fingers burnt. I don't play enough games to get my fingers burnt. So
I'm intrigued. I mean, you said you weren't convinced by the beta, and then Niall said earlier off air that he's not going to buy it, which is probably the one and only person who I've heard say that. I mean, people on the internet have said it, but you're the first person I've actually spoken to who has been put off by the beta. Why is that?
I just didn't. I expected a bit more, like you said earlier, that it's a lot more than Call of Duty. But as I played it, I kind of felt like I was just playing Call of Duty, and it's not what I was after. I was after something to get me really involved again. And I remember the first night I played it for about 6 hours non-stop. I absolutely loved it. And then the next day I played it, and I thought, yeah, it's all right. And then the next day I played it, I just couldn't even pick it up anymore. It just bored me.
2 maps over and over is probably not the best way to.
By the looks of it, there's not a huge amount of content added on in the actual full game as well. There's only I mean, there is obviously quite a lot more, but compared to what I expected, it's not a huge amount. But I don't know, it's not what I'm after. I think I've gone through playing all those Call of Duties and been burned so many times playing the exact same game and thinking, why did I spend 40 quid on this? And I don't really fancy doing it with Titanfall. I had the opportunity to play it for free, in a sense, and I wasn't that impressed. So I guess I'm just saving myself money and stopping myself from being disappointed where I could have been disappointed. I'd rather have that sort of slow, methodical kind of FPS, something like Red Orchestra. I really enjoy them a lot more than I do these sort of fast-paced FPSs. And you know what really wound me up about Titanfall, actually? The fact that jump kicks are instant kills. I could have punched the screen every time I got killed by a jump kick.
I think the big conversation I want to have about that game, and I think we're probably better off having it next episode when we've all played it properly and yada yada yada. I think I'm coming round to the bots. Before in the beta I was really dead against it, and I think in a way I still am. I hate the idea of being able to go around a corner and there'd just be 6 of them all sort of stood facing a wall just waiting to be blown away. But I think in the actual game, the dynamic seems to be a little bit better. They seem to perform a little bit better, and you kind of can understand the logic of why they're in there.
Yeah, from what I played, I think they have different uses for different people. I mean, I remember speaking to Mark when we were playing the beta, and he was really enjoying the bots because perhaps he's not the best person at shooters, and it's good to feel involved and that you just actually get towards getting your Titan, killing those bots. So, granted, it's not as much as killing a real player, but you do actually get rewards for doing it. It fills out the world, so it feels like there's more going on. But for more experienced players, for me, it's like when I play Call of Duty now, I mean, the later ones have got quite good at it because stuff in the level will move, but if you're playing something like COD 4, basically your eyes are just trained to see anything that moves, and anything that moves, you shoot at it, because if it's moving, it's probably a player that you can kill. Whereas now, you get distracted by bots, you'll shoot somebody, I'll be sitting on top of a building, snipe somebody, and I've just killed a bot. And you start to get attuned to what real players look like and how they move, but there is a lot of distractions, which kind of helps out the less experienced players as well, because they aren't just being killed constantly. There is, this kind of, not fog of war, but more of a chance for them to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That was the dynamic I was kind of alluding to, the idea that you could potentially be in this intense firefight and be sizing up who your priority targets are and, which way you want to try and tackle the situation. I think they could be onto something. It's interesting. I'm looking forward to finishing up here so I can go and have a game or two.
Again with the stealth brag.
So anyway, Titanfall's out next month. Leon, you're going to be doing a review for the site. There is an article that you wrote already based on the beta, which has garnered some interest. There's been one or two comments.
Just a couple.
Did you say out next month?
Oh, the review will be out
All right.
in the next few days. It'll be on the podcast next month.
Whoa, review will be out in the next few days.
No pressure.
No, it probably won't be long, to be fair. I'm pretty fast at shooters, and this is only online, so it's great. It's not like I have to bust through an 8-hour campaign, which is normally not a problem for me, but I don't even have that, so it shouldn't be too long.
Irrational Games of BioShock Infinite fame sadly seems to have closed its doors. Mark, have you got the story on this one?
Yeah. Ken Levine has revealed that they're winding down. It's obviously seems a bit odd given the fact that BioShock Infinite got so many Game of the Year, accolades and the like, and it was a huge series, and people just assume they go from strength to strength. But he seems to be intent on taking a few of the staff with him. I think they're saying all but 15 of the staff are going to be kind of moved on to other things or laid off, and he's going to head up a smaller development team, still with Take-Two, and he said he's going to look at narrative-driven for core gamers. But the thing that was quite interesting was he said narrative-driven for core gamers, but then he said games that are highly replayable, and it's just something that I suppose I don't tend to associate with the with what you've got with, say, something like BioShock, which is perhaps the purest example of what he's created, which is it is narrative driven, but how do you create something that is going to be so highly replayable? I think perhaps also Take-Two would have looked for more, in terms of the fact that it was one game in like 5 years. So, that has to be just such a monumental smash hit, even above, garnering awards and the like. It's got to be, a runaway success. So it does seem like it's falling in line with the standard, trials and tribulations of AAA game development, much as with Tomb Raider, selling millions but still perhaps falling short of targets.
So how did it happen, do we think? I mean, because obviously the game was a success. Are you saying that it was just such an expensive thing to get out there? Or do you think it was just poor management? How does something like this happen on that scale?
I don't think you can ever know. I mean, you don't know what the kind of balance sheet is for this kind of thing. You don't know whether they've made a decent profit but perhaps not what they were expecting, or whether it's simply the fact that it comes from the fact that Ken Levine is the kind of main man there, and if he decides that he'd rather move to a smaller development team, I mean, Take-Two will still obviously keep BioShock IP, so that could still trundle on. But you can see where, say, something like BioShock, they could be making more with, if they had planned DLC a lot more ready to roll out. There's so much more to be done with that than a game every 5 years.
I mean, I don't blame the guy. I mean, how long has he been doing BioShock for now? It's a long time. This is the problem with like these big names making these big games. What are they meant to do? Just because they've got 200 people underneath them so tied into this franchise, do they basically consign themselves to making the same thing forever? Or are they allowed to say, listen guys, I can't make my entire life about BioShock, I kind of want to go and do something else. And then Take-Two went, but if you leave, then your name is essentially the studio, so the whole thing falls apart without you, so we're just going to shutter it. And then they convinced him to stay, but in a reduced capacity. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it's like when Cliffy B left Epic. Is that the end of Gears of War, or should Cliffy B make Gears of War till the end of time? I don't think you can lay it at his feet and say he is responsible for all of these people's jobs. As sad as it is, people can't be asked to do the same thing for the rest of their lives.
I wondered whether, say, seeing the success of something like Gone Home perhaps resonated with him. You know, ex-Irrational devs going off and making something like that, you know, and proving that you can have such a small team but make something that, you know, garners such wide attention and critical acclaim, and ultimately it seems sales.
And it didn't take them 5 years.
No, exactly.
You know, how hard must it be to work on something day in, day out for 5 years just to see it at the end, and then, you know, it has such high expectations. I mean, God knows, unless you're GTA at this point, where you can just write a blank check of how much money you want to make a game, then you're going to fall into the Tomb Raider trap of it was super successful, but you needed to make so much money to make it worth it.
Places like game studios, to me, they should be project-driven companies. So when you've got something big on, you just contract in all these freelance guys, get the job done, and then once it's done, you know, you scale back down again and look at your next project. You see what I mean? Rather than having all of these employees, all these people relying on you. It seems crazy. I think I even read in James' article that people were speculating they were spending like $1 million a month to keep all that stuff running, and that just seems crazy to me. You're never going to get a return on that.
But the trouble is that you chase it further and further, you know, so it got to the point where, I mean, with something like BioShock Infinite, if it didn't sell massively and if it wasn't gaining huge critical acclaim, it would have seemed like a failure. Like, you know, a few kind of 8 out of 10 reviews would have seemed like, you know, what? You know, all this time, you know, and so every time that kind of gets bumped a little bit further down the road, the expectations get higher and higher and higher. And so, you know, you can understand how someone, say, at the peak of that would want to take a step back.
I'm quite happy that they didn't turn into like annual releases. I'm quite happy that they thought, this is all we can do, let's pull the plug. I'm quite happy they didn't pull an Assassin's Creed and think, let's just make it every year and make as much money as we can.
I don't want that, yeah, like, but there's extremes here. I don't want it annualised, but I don't want them never to make one again.
Oh, well, yeah, no.
I can safely say, mate, you will see another BioShock game.
Yeah, but is a without Ken Levine BioShock a BioShock game? Is that a thing?
I mean, look, I think if you're some kind of visionary creative director in the games industry, you know, why again, I make the comparison to the film industry. Why can't another creative director come in and take that series to the next level?
You come back to almost like the kind of Star Wars conundrum.
Exactly. You know, you have, I think all of us would probably say, look, you know, if Star Wars is going to come back, J.J. Abrams is a great person to have a crack at that, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of other people that can follow in Ken Levine's footsteps. I'm sure there are plenty of people already out there that can do it. So,
well, he's created a rich enough world, a rich enough universe anyway. You would think there would be people out there who could run with that.
Batman is coming back, Arkham Knight. Steve, should I be excited, or is this just going to be another step down the chain of quality as the last game proved?
You should be excited, yeah, because it's actually Rocksteady that are back on development duties for this one. The last one wasn't actually produced by Rocksteady. They kind of let somebody else do the duties. I can't remember who it was, but I think they've kind of acknowledged that they weren't happy with how that was well received and how they took that game. The last two, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, were fantastic games. I mean, anyone who loves the Batman universe, loves open world adventure games, anything like that, it was just fantastic. And to actually get Gotham in like a more broad and in-depth world, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, they've said already that you can drive the Batmobile. It's going to be, I think it's in about 4 or 5 separate segments. Open 4 or 5 separate open segments for you to just go out and explore. Apparently with no loading in between. Apparently it's just going to be you go to one, you're straight there. You don't have to wait behind any loading screens whatsoever. It's there instantly. I mean, we'll see how that works, but they've already said that they're not trying to make the biggest open world game out there. They're just trying to make the best open world experience that they possibly can. And I think it's just going to be fantastic. I mean, I think it's slated for the end of this year. And if it comes out before Christmas, I think it'll just, depending on what else comes out at that time, I think it'll just blow everything away. I mean, it's got the potential to be huge. I mean, anyone that played on even a PC or a PS3 or 360 will have known how good Arkham City looked and Arkham Asylum looked, and to think that could be improved, by 2 or 3 times with the power of the PS4 or Xbox One, it should be amazing.
That scene from I think the original Arkham Asylum, when you're you go into the morgue, is it? Spoilers, I guess.
I think we're safe with this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been enough time. The scene with Scarecrow, man, that really knocked me for 6 when I played that. It was really mind-blowingly good.
Yeah, so good. I mean, I don't think they've come out yet and said which villains are going to be the main ones. Obviously, they want to keep that under wraps. I think there's been a few suggestions about.
They showed Penguin, didn't they, in the trailer?
Yeah, Penguin's there, but I think he's obviously going to be one of many.
You never really know what they're going to do with it, how big they're going to feature or not, and I think that's one of the strongest things about the series for sure.
Yeah, I mean the only fear is that they'll try and put too many in and probably milk a few sort of token appearances. But I think if they have one underlying plot line like with the Joker and the other villains, obviously the Joker's probably not going to come back, but if they have like a sort of plot line with that sort of spanning the sort of entire game with other villains helping him and trying to take over Gotham, that's the one, try and take over Gotham, then I think it's going to be then I think it should work. I mean, I didn't have any problems with Arkham City or Asylum really, so it'd just be interesting to see what new gadgets they can include.
They're going all in with the Batmobile, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean that's the big one.
Yeah, they've said they're widening the streets or whatever, so it makes it more logical to navigate with the Batmobile. But the trailer did look very good.
Yeah. I mean that's the only worry is the inclusion, either not enough or too much of the Batmobile and how it handles and how it drives and what you can do inside it. But I think I think it'd be awesome if you could play a mission and it's completely open ended and you have to escape and you can just press a button and call the Batmobile and or what have you. I think it should be fantastic.
When's it land?
It's the end of this year. I think it's supposed to be as long as it doesn't get delayed. Yeah.
Yeah, October 14th for the US.
Okay, one to look out for. Another big game we're looking forward to is Watch Dogs. Niall, there's been some controversy in the last few weeks regarding this game. Graphics possibly being underpowered. Is this the case, or is it internet?
The internet hate machine.
Internet hate machine rolling into action.
Well, there was a new gameplay trailer. I think it was a few days ago now, and it looks quite a bit different to the original release trailer. To be honest with you, I haven't really been following the story that extensively. I kind of fell off the hype train a while ago. After I wasn't really that impressed.
Why was that? Because it got delayed? You were excited about it originally, though, no?
I was a bit giddy about it, and then Grand Theft Auto came out, and I didn't really enjoy it, and I sort of thought, I don't really want another open world game anymore. I've had my fill, and I didn't like it. To be fair, at the minute, I'm not really... I sound like I don't like anything, do I?
It's quite cynical at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, it's grumpy.
Do you want to just give Steve your PC?
I can't do that. It's my child.
Mate, I nearly swapped mine for a Titanfall beta code, so...
Microsoft might still call that in.
But no, yeah, Watch Dogs. This trailer looked a bit less... In terms of graphical fidelity, anyway, it looked a lot less impressive, let's say. And obviously everybody jumped onto this, and there was like numerous videos comparing the launch trailer to this new gameplay trailer. And I think Ubisoft's reaction is that there is no change in the graphics or anything like that. It was I think the gameplay trailer was from a PS4, and what Ubisoft, I'm not sure if this is what Ubisoft said because my memory is failing me big time here, but I think the launch one was on a PC. So I think that's where the differences are coming up. Obviously, PCs are going to look a little bit better than a PS4, and I think that's what the difference was. But I don't see why graphics is that big of a deal, to be honest. If it's a good game, it's a good game. If it looks a bit less good as it did a few months ago, where's the big deal about it? I mean,
well, I think the big thing is if you make the jump to a PC from a console, and if you have done recently because of the whole next gen thing, you know, you're making that move because you want the superior graphics. You know, so the fact that it's not there is a bit disappointing if that's the case. But you know, I'm sure the final product will look fantastic. And you know what? I'm sure all kinds of companies do a bit of sharpening and, you know, a bit of colour grading on clips to make them look the business before they push them out. Were the game demos live? Do you remember that they showed?
I just think it was I think this one that came out now was just a trailer on their YouTube account or maybe their website or something like that. So I don't think it was.
And the one back at E3 was.
I think that was live. Yeah, if I remember rightly, that was live.
Okay, well, one to look forward to. And when's it due? It's finally going to hit the shops sometime soon.
In May, I think.
Yep, May 27th.
And that was after being delayed. It was originally due.
It was really with the
release
launch,
of,
the release, yeah.
Back at the time of next gen launch, and it was, you know,
I really hope it's a good game. Really do hope they.
You've played it already. You know it's a good game.
Yeah.
It's basically all the mechanics from Far Cry 3, Assassin's Creed. I don't know, every Ubisoft game, which is basically climb a tower, unlock a part of the map,
As
destroy
you can
something.
tell, Leon's a big fan of Ubisoft games.
Do you know what? I love it. Hey, man, I'll play that over and over again. But they literally just put the same systems in all of their games.
Definitely.
There was a rumour that they'd canned Watch Dogs just to call it the new Assassin's Creed. But I think what they'd actually done was just change the name. So it's now Watch_Dogs. Is that right?
It was always that, wasn't it?
No, it was changed. I can't remember why they got in trouble about it, though. They were in trouble about something.
It was changed for something, was it?
Yeah, there was a definite reason behind it. I can't remember if it was something to do with
Esther Ranson maybe caught wind of it and thought...
I don't remember why, but I know for a fact there was some issue that made them have to change it. I just can't remember what it was. My memory is terrible today.
Do
The
you just
underscore
wanna
makes a whole lot of difference.
sign off for the night, Niall?
I might just
Have a
You hate
little
games.
sleepy.
You can't
I
remember.
might just turn the microphone off, have a little bit of a cry, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Esther Ranson as an unlockable character.
South Park Stick of Truth finally came out this past week after some delays. Now it's got a bit of controversy surrounding it already, but you've also reviewed it for the site.
I have.
Tell us your thoughts and fill us in on what it's been making headlines for.
Well, the controversy is it's South Park, so there's obviously going to be controversy. But the controversy is that there is numerous scenes of anal probing, and there is a couple of scenes including abortions. One in particular where you perform an abortion on Randy Marsh. So you can tell that they put it, especially in the abortion scenes, you can tell that they're put in just to rile up that controversy because they are ridiculous. You've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's not really much of a spoiler, but when you are performing the abortion on Randy, you can accidentally suck his balls up into the tube.
Jesus.
So it's done in the most disgusting, graphic way possible, and you can tell that they knew for a fact they were going to be in trouble about it, and they just don't care. And it's quite commendable that they don't. It's just that the subject matter is a bit gruesome.
They took it out themselves, didn't they? The scenes in the end.
I can't. I think they're just replaced by. If you remember the episode where Mohammed was involved and he was replaced by a big black box that said censored. I think they did the same thing there.
Yeah, they put the EU flag in, didn't they? Isn't it like a big EU flag with some message or something? I can't remember.
It's been a while, but no, yeah, they are really quite graphic scenes, and It's not really. I wouldn't call them censorship worthy. I've seen worse things in video games, but it's South Park in it, so they had to have a bit of controversy.
Yeah, I was going to say basically what you're saying is it's South Park.
Yeah, they've done worse. They've done a lot worse.
Exactly.
I think that surprises me. They do this stuff and get away with this stuff on television.
Yeah, I guess it's the fact that you can play it, though, isn't it? That's the
that's
the sticking point.
I guess so.
Why though? Why are we still on this? Why is it still because you're pushing a stick or pressing A?
Because it makes you go out and do it in real life, Leon. That's why.
Do it in a game.
If you kill somebody in a game, you go out and do it on the streets.
Yeah, duh.
So what? After this, you've got the urge to go and anal probe people on the street, have you?
I'll be going outside and probing somebody left, right, and centre. This is why Niall's so depressed.
This is why I'm so distracted. What do you think I'm doing?
He's probing somebody right now.
Maybe you need an anal probing.
Is that an offer? But yeah, anyway, in terms of the game, it'd make a really good series of South Park, but the game isn't anything to really get too excited about. It's a pretty standard role-playing game. The combat's a bit weak, but the fact that it is South Park and the fact that it's so funny saves it.
What's the gameplay? Explain the
So
the
it's your
gameplay.
standard like turn-based RPG, but instead of just like pressing a button to attack and then you watch your character do it, you actually have to click along with the attack. So let's say you press attack with buttons or something, his hammer will shine, and you right-click and that does the attack. And when you're blocking attacks, a little indicator will go down a character's feet, and you have to right-click to block. And it tries to keep you involved by doing that, but instead, all you end up watching is people's feet, because you're looking for these indicators instead of actually watching the combat.
Right.
So something funny could be happening, you just have no idea because you're not watching it.
Yeah.
Because you can't watch it because it gives you a disadvantage if you do.
You're not really selling it to me, mate.
It's good, honestly. If you like South Park in any way, you will love the game. The fact that it's not a good game doesn't let it down as bad as it probably should. It is South Park through and through, and it is hilarious. It's everything you could want from a South Park game, except that it's not that good of a game.
Can't you just like openly explore it as well, like the town? Can't you just like
The
walk
town,
around?
yeah, it's not a huge map or anything, but it is open for exploration.
I think the fact is that it's just packed, isn't it? I mean, like, you'll go in and open a cupboard and it'll just be like 14 references to different South Park episodes. So
I think within the first 10 minutes you're in Cartman's house, and if you go into his mum's room, you find all sorts of drugs paraphernalia and a lot of sex toys. Yeah, it's just little things like that. These little references that if you've watched all the series, that you'll get immediately. It's just those things that make it worth playing because it is so funny. And even there's like a little Facebook feature as well, and people write on your wall, and that is hilarious. It's just some of the funniest moments come outside of the actual sort of cutscenes and outside of the game. It's just these little tiny references, all these little quotes that people say. It is worth playing. I've hit it a little bit hard here, but it is worth playing.
Is this how we need to see funny games now? They need to be tied in with something that is like a TV show, or has some kind of world outside of video games, or can we get something original that would make people laugh in the same way that something like this game does?
I don't know if you played. No, yeah, I was just about to say Double Fine. I don't know if you played Broken Age, but that was quite funny in places. I wouldn't say it's as funny as South Park, but it was. It had its moments.
It's dangerous though. If you look at the Family Guy game that launched last year, that was an absolute terrible. Yeah, that was just awful.
That was the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I think there's scope for it to expand like South Park has, but I think like they need to be careful how they approach it.
But that's
I was going to say, this is not the first South Park game that we've ever had.
And they've all been
the last one I
before
played was like on the PlayStation 1.
Right.
That was.
Then they had that tower defense game as well.
Yeah.
I think about games being funny all the time, to be honest, because I always think the same. We've got so many different types of games, and being funny in a game is just so hard. I think like comic timing is like really hard to do. South Park leans on its license. I think I often laugh at games like 50 Cent Blood in the Sand is a funny game because it's just stupid. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
But let me jump in there. One of the best co-op experiences I think you can ever have.
Oh, it's amazing. Just the dialogue between, like, the G unit. Like, I read books 50.
Who's the co-op player in it? Who do you play as?
Part of the G unit, you can play as Tony Yayo.
Oh, my favourite part of the G unit.
Lloyd Banks. What's the other guy's name? It's a ridiculous name. I can't remember what it is, though.
That ridiculous, I can't remember.
It is. It's pretty bad. But no, it's just funny. Like the dialogue. I honestly think that developer was like riding the line of taking the piss out of 50 Cent in the G unit and showing them the game, going, "Yeah, look, this is seriously a good game," just laughing under their breath at it. So there's that type of funny. But then you've got stuff like Portal 2 or Portal, in fact, where that is genuinely funny dialogue. A lot of the stuff, especially 2 with like
2, yeah.
What's Spider-Man boss guy's name? No, the guy who plays the boss. He plays the boss in Spider-Man as well. He's the head of the paper. What's his name?
Come on, Mark, you're the movies guy.
Jesus.
So
you know,
This is our weekly jump to Wikipedia.
yeah. So you know, you got Spider-Man, and he's got his boss of the. Is it the Daily Planet and Spider-Man? Oh man, this is awful.
Daily
Sorry.
Bugle, innit?
Daily Bugle, yeah. What's the boss man's name in that?
Oh, God.
Scraping the barrel here tonight.
Sorry. Why do I do this every single episode? And I've got a picture of him.
Yeah, he's got that mustache.
Fantastic.
Describe
Brilliant.
A
He's got,
podcast version of Guess Who.
He's middle-aged and got brown hair.
Does he have
Has
a
he
beard?
got a mustache?
J.K. Simmons is his name.
That doesn't help me in the
Spider-Man.
slightest. Let's
It's
Google
helping.
J.K. Simmons. Is it Simmons with a double M?
We're going to be here all night.
No, we're not. I'm nearly done. Sorry.
Here we go, J.K. Simmons.
Jonathan Kimball means absolutely nothing to me.
No.
So that was really useful. But he's the voice.
Insightful.
He's the voice of the guy
Jonathan
in Portal 2.
Kimball, wasn't it? Wasn't he the dude in Kindergarten Cop?
But
maybe
you're talking
it's-
about Cave Johnson, aren't you?
Hold on. Cave Johnson, yes!
There
Thank
we
you.
go.
I said that a good 2 minutes ago.
Did you? Sorry,
Yeah.
wasn't listening at all. Yes, Cave Johnson. His dialogue is funny.
Yeah.
That's the entire fight.
The end.
Brilliant.
The end.
There we go. Same time next week, folks.
But no, you can do funny in video games. Like Portal 2 is funny.
Saints Row. Did anyone find Saints Row funny?
Oh, that
Oh,
was
you know what,
brilliant.
Saints Row is funny. Yeah.
That was brilliant. That was just ridiculous. That was just because it was so ridiculous that it was funny.
Dildos in video games.
Well, yeah, just going around and whacking random people around the back of the head with a giant dildo. It don't get better than that. Oh, that dubstep gun. You know. That guy, Saints Row the Third, that guy with the synth voice, I can't remember his name. That
Pimp.
the pimp with the pimp, yeah. His voice was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Saints Row was good. That's a unique one of being funny through gameplay. Like just running through, diving off the top of your building, being completely naked, landing without taking any damage, doing DDTs and wrestling moves to people on the streets. That's just funny gameplay.
Taunts were good in that as well.
Yeah, and some of the missions as well, like the Decker's Die mission, where you played as a toilet in a virtual reality world. And they had some good dialogue. Yeah, Saints Row is funny. So games can do it.
Oh wait, do you know what? I totally forgot to tell you guys. I bought a Vita.
Give over.
Really?
Yeah, welcome to the club.
I'm really impressed. It's a great little.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Why?
Great little
Did you get the
device.
new one or the older one?
I actually got the older one
Yeah, good
because
call.
I specifically wanted this OLED screen, and the screen is really nice. And I thought, to be honest, it's so light anyway that I don't think I'd miss too much about the slim version. Battery life aside, I suppose the extra couple of hours will probably come in useful if you're travelling. But other than that, I think I'm happy with it. I've only got a couple of games so far, Terraria and I don't even know. Mark, how do you say it? This shooter, this TXK, is that it?
Honestly, I've never heard of it.
TXK, Steve?
Are these the only ones in Korea? Or are these English ones?
I'm surprised you've not heard of it, Mark. It's a really, really cool shooter, thumping sort of house dance soundtrack. I was actually chatting to one of the other moderators on the site, Rotten Fox. Hello, Scott, and he was saying, "Yep, TXK in bed on my Vita, headphones on. That is gaming heaven." And you know what? That's what sold me on a Vita, and he's absolutely right. It's a great little device.
Who was it who reviewed some weird ass Japanese thing this week?
Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc.
You sound really excited. I'm guessing it was you.
Let him talk about it quick.
Go on, Mark's Japan. 5 minutes. Go.
It's fantastic. It's a visual novel. It's got themes of like battle royale. It's a series of high school students trapped in a school.
Why is it always high school students?
Is it Persona? Is that what you're saying?
No, it isn't, because actually it's got a bear in it, so yeah, it is a little bit like that. But this is a demonic bear, and they're forced to. The only way to graduate is by killing someone, and it's a little bit like Phoenix Wright in that you get the trial section at the end of it and then investigation, but it's a little bit of a relationship sim as well. So you've got to collect tokens and buy people gifts and stuff like that, but it's absolutely barking mad, and I love it.
Relationship sim.
I've just looked at
only
your
in the
review.
sense
The first picture is just a massive guy with long grey hair and massive arms.
that's actually a girl.
What? That's a guy if I've ever seen one.
Has he only got one eye and lots of scars on his face?
He's got a lot of scars everywhere. It looks like he's just had a fight with a knife and.
Yep, that's Sakura. That's the world's ultimate martial artist. She's not a feminine figure, but she's interesting.
I'm guessing she doesn't do too well in the whole relationship side of things, being with the whole
She
scars.
just crush people with a massive biceps by the look of it.
It depends how well you chat her up, I think.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to give the right gifts. I gave one girl a bra, and that apparently is a big no-no. An icebreaker.
I've just literally looked at the next picture and it's a hand bra.
Yeah. Well, I figured, what the hell? I'd take a shot.
It's better or worse than what was that other Japanese game where you had to leer on women in bars and try not to get caught?
Oh, Killer is Dead.
That's the
with
one.
the gigolo mode.
That's it. There we go.
It is. No. That was far pervier than this. I mean, and I mean that in a positive way.
I was going to say, still worth a look.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You'll have to hook me
You
up.
sound a little bit too excited about these.
This just looks so crazy that I'm actually going to have to play it. This looks even crazier than the Curry God the other minute.
You've got to, Steve, if you're after crazy, please play Killer is Dead. It is so incredibly barking mad. It's got it tries to be like a noir film in places, but it's got lines about soft-boiled eggs and stuff like that. It's just absolutely out there.
Anyway, so I am a member of the Vita Club in preparation for me picking up a PS4 this year. I'm not sure I'm going to get round to playing all the bonkers games that you do, Mark, but I'm certainly enjoying it. I'm looking forward to Minecraft.
What?
I'm
Welcome
looking
to 2
forward to
years
Minecraft.
ago.
Hear me out.
Welcome to 2012.
I know. I didn't really play it on anything else, and the idea of being able to play it on the Vita I think that's going to be the place where I get my Minecraft experience. So
Why?
Hopefully it's not a.
Why is the Vita the platform that
I
pushes
don't know.
to Minecraft?
I just like the idea because it's there. I can leave it in a toilet or something. If I'm taking a dump, it'll get out.
Well,
It's
to
not a
fade on
toilet
it.
book.
Listen, this is the 21st century, and wherever you can get your entertainment, so be it. Steve, you reviewed Thief 4, which came out this month. Reboot of the old classic game. I didn't play the originals back in the day. I guess they were a little bit before your time. Am I being unfair?
No, definitely not. This is something that I picked up on in the review. It's a game that's probably going to divide a lot of opinions between people like myself and possibly Nial, who are younger and coming to the series at this point, as opposed to from playing the old ones. A lot of the opinions and reviews I've seen elsewhere on the internet and on YouTube and what have you have been harsh on it, saying that it's nothing like the old game, but it's like you said, it's a reboot rather than a remake. It's an attempt to make an old series.
Did anyone else play it back in the day, Mark? I'm looking at you, Leon. Not really your thing, is it?
I'm not really stealth.
and this is about as stealth as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, this is a proper stealth game. I mean, you know, I like I said, I can't really comment on the original games, but by all accounts that it was, you know, these are proper stealth games, and this still is. I mean, it's an amazing stealth game. It works brilliantly. You know, you're sneaking through shadows, scuttling across rooftops, and hiding in cupboards, and, you know, ducking in and out of shadow to extinguishing candles and fire pits to sneak past. To that extent, it's a brilliant little game. It's wholly stealth. You can try and take people head on, but you're underpowered because you're basically just a thief, and you're attempting to be light-footed. You don't have a massive arsenal of weapons or means of defending yourself. So if you decide you're gonna,
because I think a lot of people have labelled it brutally difficult because of that, but in reality, that they're just playing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
would that be fair?
It is hard in places, and this is where the strategy comes into it, and where the most of the entertainment comes. You know, you're presented with like a mission, and you have to get in to complete your objective in whichever way you can. And there's like different paths you can take. You know, crawl through vents, go through an open window, or just go through the front door. And whichever way you decide to go, there will be 2 or 3 guards all looking in a similar direction, which will mean you will get detected. And you do have tools to distract them to get past. So, like I said, you can extinguish lights with water arrows. You can throw glass bottles to make a noise, like an audio distraction. And it is hard in places. Don't get me wrong. You know, sometimes you will alert them, but you can get away as long as you have a sort of backup plan. You know, if sort of the shit hits the fan, you know where you're going. But that to me is a bit adds to the effect of the game, because you are mimicking, you know, you are a thief, you are trying to sneak past people, and you're not just going to walk straight past them. You know, it's not meant to be easy, it's meant to challenge you, and that's where the most entertainment came from me, because outside of that, you know, it's you could label it as quite a weak game. The sort of dialogue isn't, you know, first grade, you know, it's not a brilliantly written game.
Someone said to me that the lip sync is horrendous.
Yeah, it is. I said the lip sync is horrendous. The conversation that the NPCs have with themselves, it just overrides. You know, they'll be talking over one another, and it's just out of sync. You know, the one will be saying something, and the next reply will be from a completely different conversation altogether. It's just on a constant loop as well. You know, it's not been thought out well at all. But
it's a shame, because that's such a huge part. For a game like this to really create its world, you know, the atmosphere has got to be right, and you know, for something as little as that to break it is a shame, I think.
Yeah, because like you said, it adds to the world, because there are moments in there where if you actually, you know, sort of sit on a rooftop and listen to guards talking, or, you know, NPCs talking, you can actually harbour some useful information. You know, they'll talk about some sort of treasure or hidden item that you can then go and find within the mission that you wouldn't have found out about if you hadn't have been listening to that conversation at that time. So it's something like that that's really nice, but it's not done enough, and the dialogue outside of those situations is just terrible. Whether that's down to the transfer from PS3 to PS4 to PC or what have you, know, the different formats, and it was actually delayed. Whether it's because of that or not, it's, you know, who knows, but it's still a decent little game. You know, it's with the stealth mechanics and the sneaking about and the strategy towards it, it's still a good game. To me, I found it enjoyable to that extent, but I can't comment on the, you know, the sort of how relatable it is to the old games. But
well, a friend of mine was talking about it last week that is familiar with the original games, and he said that he thought the proper spiritual successor to the Thief games is probably Dishonored.
Yeah, I raised this issue in the review. You know, Dishonored came out a couple of years ago, and this was meant to release a couple of years ago before it got delayed. And you can't help but feel that this is going to live in the shadow of Dishonored, which came out sooner. and in a way kind of did things a bit better. But I think in Thief, I mean, I didn't particularly like Dishonored. Everyone raved on about it, but I kind of left feeling a bit cold after playing it. And to me, the stealth mechanics in this feel a lot better, because in this game you are just a thief, but in Dishonored you're kind of an assassin as well. So because you get that option, the stealth isn't focused on as much. Whereas this game is just 100% stealth and nothing else. So to me, the stealth mechanics in this are done a lot better. That's not to say Dishonored's not a good game to anybody else, but in my eyes, this is better from that half of the game, whereas Dishonored is better from, you know, the assassin sides of it and the weapons and the way you can take enemies down and what have you. So it's personal preference. It depends how you approach a game, you know, whether you like to be stealthy, you like to have a bit of both, you know, be a bit stealthy, be a bit rogue and kill a few people. It's entirely up to you.
Go rogue. I love that.
Yeah.
He's gone rogue.
Yeah. But if you do decide that you're going to, you know, take a few guards down on your way in Thief, you have to do it in a sneaky way. You can't just walk up to them and stab them. You have to sit in the shadows and take them down with an arrow and make sure nobody else sees you or finds the body. Otherwise, the guards do hunt you down and won't stop trying to seek you out until they look in every corner, or unless they find you. So it does have a few tense moments. I mean, the atmosphere in the game is fantastic with the fog and the lighting.
It does look a pretty game.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's quite pretty. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not going to be, you know, it's not the best looking game, but the fog and the lighting and the shadows, especially if you have your TV set, you know, to sort of correct brightness. I mean, some people will whack the brightness up and it will.
I always whack it up.
Yeah.
I don't like surprises.
Yeah, I mean, I usually do that, but
Did you do that with Outlast?
yeah,
Yeah, of course
No,
I
I
did.
do that. As soon
Max
as they
plays
say
in the middle of the day
so
with the volume down.
Well, as soon as they say so that such and such, like a key or something, is barely visible, you always say no.
It's like,
No,
come on, mate.
I want to
crank
see
that
the
up.
key.
Yeah.
Show me the key.
Any other stealth fans on the pod, or is it really a genre which you'll happily let pass you by?
I like stealth, but I like being able to shoot people in the face if I get bored.
Well, that always has to be an option. Otherwise, you won't look at it.
Not necessarily. I don't know. I guess I just like the choice. I mean, I like the reward of playing a section stealthily, but I don't know. Stealth games find it hard to be challenging without being annoying. And I don't like to be annoyed. I mean, what is a boss in a stealth game? Is it you got through the level without being detected and it's a really sort of anticlimactic moment as you just walk away and that's the end of the game? I don't know.
So as Thief was a reboot, we thought we'd take a look at reboots over recent years and maybe explore some reboots that we'd like to see.
I think a good angle is, reboots are kind of, we don't have backwards compatibility anymore. Everybody's always crying about backwards compatibility, or we want to play our old games, whereas now what they do is they just reboot it for you, or they just remake the same game again and make you buy it again.
Do we really want to play our old games?
Yes.
If it's significantly better, then yes. Like, if there's an advantage, then definitely. Not just a case of, we've given it a lick of paint, it looks a little bit better, give us another 40 quid.
I've just bought probably Symphony of the Night for the fourth time and popped it on the Vita, simply because the reboot Lords of Shadow, Castlevania now is unrecognisable from the one that I love, which is 2D, traditional Metroidvania style, with a Symphony of the Night style RPG leanings, and so therefore, that's the kind of thing that I love putting on something like the Vita. So yeah, some old games I will go back to, but in general, I think the thing is, so many of these modern reboots are falling towards the, if in doubt, make it more cinematic kind of style, which is the great criticism of Lords of Shadow, which was it's Castlevania crossed with God of War, but you've got God of War, so why do you have to go into that sphere? And this is kind of what some people have criticised, things like Thief for, which is why can't you follow the traditional formula, the traditional blueprint that other people already liked. Strider, If you go to Strider did it well.
Yay, let's talk about Strider.
And that's kind of Metroidvania style in places, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's a mix between... I mean, I actually didn't play old Strider, but I've been reading a lot about it and watching some old videos because I am super into the new Strider that they've just made. I hear it's a mix of like you said, the Metroidvania kind of exploration, backtracking, 2D side scroller, and the old sort of hack and slash arcadey type Strider, and it's just absolutely perfect. When I first started it, I popped it on normal, but it was super easy, and I've popped it on hard, which kind of makes it play even more old schooly. I'm dying every 5 seconds. It's a lot of old boss fights and memorizing patterns and that sort of stuff, trying to upgrade my character. And I don't know, I really like a challenge in games. So I guess that reboot for me, even though I didn't play the old games, it feels old in a sort of punishing way, which is always good for me because then I actually get a sense of accomplishment when I actually finish it. I mean, I'm inching my way through that game checkpoint by checkpoint over the last 2 weeks, and I couldn't be more happy with it.
What reboots would we like to see? Is there a series you'd like to see revived or remixed, or even if it was just an HD update? What would you like to see?
They're talking about Mass Effect, aren't they? Like one of the guys from BioWare. Somebody asked him, "Oh, is there any chance of getting Mass Effect on the new consoles?"
Looking at the profits that they were making on Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. Like a 60 FPS 1080p fixed version of Mass Effect 1 that didn't tear every 4 seconds and didn't have 15 elevator rides that are 30 minutes a piece in it.
They were awesome.
I don't know, man. I might enjoy that. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd like to see the. Do you remember the old Prince of Persia games on the PS2?
Right. Well, the way back.
Sands of Time, Warrior Within, Two Thrones. God, I love those games.
What happened to Prince of Persia? Did Assassin's Creed just eat its
lunch? I can't remember. There were a couple of games on the 360, but they went into the whole cel-shaded thing, and then it just died a death, didn't it?
No, that was terrible. Yeah, you had Nolan North playing the Prince of Persia, and instead of like this story of maturity and becoming who you're supposed to be, it was a story of Nolan North cracking jokes. So it wasn't really
Uncharted for that.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the point? And it
probably play about 15 games for that.
Yeah, true.
So that were a bit rubbish. And then the film came out, and they attempted to sort of make like the Sands of Time again, and that was a bit rubbish too. Because I think you could only attack one enemy at once. So you had about 4 people surrounding you, but only one of them got involved at a time. So that was terrible. But no, I'd love to see them back to how they were, the really showy combat, the backflips and running up walls and then doing backflips off these walls. And the combat in those games was just unbelievable. I could go back to it now and just spend hours on it. I loved those games. And thinking about them...
It intrigues me when someone says that, because I'm sure half of it is just the memory of it. And if you actually
go back
and play it, it wouldn't be anywhere near as good as your memory of it.
But that's the thing, I love Final Fantasy X as well. And I can go back and play that now. I can go back and play that for hours. And quite coincidentally, actually, that's coming out as an HD remake in a week or so?
Yep,
maybe not that long.
21st.
Yeah, so that's not far off, and I probably will be getting that, to be honest with you, just for that nostalgia trip.
I will not be happy until there is a remake or a HD remake of Time Splitters. Time Splitters 2 and Time Splitters Future Perfect were the perfect games on PS2. I played those games for hours, and there is an actual ongoing development of these on, I think it's through Steam Greenlight, people actually working to make this become a reality, the Time Splitters games in HD.
It's been announced a couple of times and then not seemed to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's just like a small few people. I think the main issue was because what was the name of Crytek before?
Free Radical.
That's it. The getting the rights from them, because I think they were kind of lost, or it was hard to come by in the transition between the two. So it's been a bit of a slow, methodical process, but as long as it's done right, and hopefully in the end it'll come to other formats other than PC, even if it came to the PS3, not even necessarily the PS4, I'd be happy to play Time Splitters over and over again, because some of those arcade challenges in there were better than the campaign, but even so, the characters and the campaign missions in there, I loved that game. It was brilliant.
You know, Time Splitters 2 was the first place I ever played like a one-on-one first-person shooter deathmatch. My brother and I, we both had PS2s, and the way that you launched the multiplayer is you had to link them with a firewire cable. So he'd have one in his bedroom. This is in our first flat together. He'd have one in his bedroom. We had like a 4 metre long firewire cable. We'd link the two up. So he'd be playing on his TV and I'd be playing on mine. And it was basically Call of Duty, but 15 odd years ago. And it was fantastic. It blew my mind. I loved it. And we'd spend hours just sticking remote mines everywhere, just waiting for the other one to walk down the wrong corridor, and then boom.
Yeah, well, that's it. That was one of the first games that supported online play for the PS2. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And even with just the bots,
well, I'd kickstart it. Anyone else left, Mark? You've already said what you've got already, but anything you'd like to bring back from the dead?
Yeah, beyond 2D Castlevania, obviously Shenmue. I'd like to see. You know, I'd happily play an HD version of 1 and 2 of that.
Probably quite likely that will come around sometime.
Some more forklift driving.
Yep, exactly. Knights of the Old Republic. But the one that I would absolutely kill for was there was games on the original Xbox. They were never made backwards compatible, I don't think, with the 360, called Otogi Myth of Demons. It was kind of hack and slash. It was very kind of dreamy, great graphics for the time, and they just seem to die away. And you know, kind of, they're the only couple of games that I've actually thought about. Right, I'm going to go out and buy an old console for. Beyond when I did so with Symphony of the Night.
I'm just scrolling back through my games. I mean, they're already doing Mirror's Edge, which is a bit weird because that's quite soon. So we seem to be rebooting things from not too long ago. But I think Unreal Tournament, even though they tried, but that was weird because it was all third-person-y and stuff because you could jump on waveboards and stuff. But I would love to see a proper new Unreal Tournament that was actually good. That would be spectacular.
I want to see Bully, and I'm sure that was getting a sequel, but it's all
you'd
I
love
love
that
that
game,
game.
don't you?
I really enjoyed that game.
I thought it was good as well. Yeah, I loved that game.
I tried, right? They released it. It was on Xbox. The Xbox was doing loads of sales. Bully was like £2 or something. So I got it largely on your recommendation because you go on about it all the time. And it was all right.
Do you know what it is about it? I mean, the gameplay's, you know, it's quite simplistic. It's open world, you know, Rockstar open world. It's always going to be fairly decent. It does what it does. But it was just the combination of the music, and as you progress through the game, the seasons change, you know, depending on what term you're in and stuff. And I just thought the atmosphere was really great. They really
bike riding. They nailed bike riding in that game.
Bike riding was great fun. Bunking school was
kart.
great fun. Yeah, finding all the rubber bands.
I think it's hard because, I mean, it's like anything. Nostalgia is just, if you were there at the time, then it was just so much easier to get into and to enjoy because there wasn't anything better. But going back now, like I said, I picked it up on this sale. So, I mean, 5 years after the fact? 7? When did that come out? Ages and ages ago?
Ages ago, yeah.
So, I'm looking at it. It doesn't look particularly pretty, which I'm not holding against it because what did I expect? But those gameplay elements, which might have been enjoyable 5 years ago, have been played on so much that now when I see it, all I see are the other games that I've played, which have possibly done it better at this point. Yeah. So it's harder for me to appreciate those things that you enjoyed about it the first time round.
Do you think that's why maybe we haven't seen it sooner by now? It's just kind of, it doesn't really have a place in the biz anymore.
What, Bully specifically, or?
Well, okay, yeah, let's say Bully specifically, but when you've got a game like GTA already doing what it does so well, and then other games sort of filling in the gaps, it doesn't really make sense, does it?
I guess not. There. It depends on the demand for it. I mean, you could say that about any reboot, really. Was there really a need for Lara Croft when we had Uncharted? You know, I mean, it's just what can you do with it and how can you differentiate it? I'm sure you're quite excited about Bully, and if they made a Bully in the GTA 5 engine, I'm sure people would go nuts for it, but there's obviously a reason why they haven't.
Yeah, very true. Well, if you're listening, Rockstar, do the right thing. So, fellas, that brings us to the end of another podcast. Just to remind you, there is the weekly podcast every week. Comes out on a Wednesday with Mark Hodgkinson and Steve Withers and Phil. Catch up on all your home cinema news and gossip.
Biscuit choices.
Biscuit choices. Yeah, I haven't caught that episode. I did see the hobnob banner thing.
Ongoing debate.
Yeah, I do like a hobnob. Guys, thanks so much for your time. Listeners, if you enjoyed the podcast, please swing by iTunes and give us 12 thumbs up, whatever it is they do these days. I've, of course, been Steve Hill. Massive thanks to Mark.
Cheers, Steve.
Fist bump to my main man, Leon.
See you on Titanfall.
High five to Niall.
You're welcome, mate. High five back to you.
And a big thanks to Steve.
Cheers.
And we'll catch you all next month.
Esther Ranson as an unlockable character.